I'm recording. Thank you, Rebecca. Apologies to everyone. We had a very technical disaster, which I was unable to solve. And I didn't find out about it until a few minutes after 4 o'clock, when, of course, the town offices are closed. But it seemed that the was asking me for a passcode that only went to some town email address, and so I couldn't retrieve it. But here's everybody. Let's see what we're doing.
Tim, it's so good to see you with us.
Yes, Tim, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congrats. We thought you were going to be away.
So did I, and then we caught COVID like 3 days after the wedding.
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, no.
So we've been home for like a week, and we're going stir crazy.
Oh,
no.
I saw you were home. I thought, why are you home?
Yeah, better after than before. So we
absolutely
made it through.
Oh my God.
So sorry though, because I imagine your guests got you sick. That's not very kind.
We're actually not sure. It's so funny. It was only my brother and his family were in town, and it was just them and like one of our neighbors, but our neighbor was like, I think we got it elsewhere. So we're not sure where it came from.
I always blame my family.
Yeah, we tend to do that too.
Hey, Mac. Oh, Mac, unmute yourself.
So let's see, we have a quorum and it is 5:01. So
thank you everybody for their patience. We had a technical mishap, but the town solved it. It was not our fault. It was the town's fault.
oh, good. How nice it wasn't our fault.
Right. It wasn't our fault. It was the town's fault. And I was inspired by Susan's blurred background at the last meeting, so I blurred my own background.
I know. Now I got to figure out how to do that again.
You have a lovely background, Susan. I don't know how to do that either.
I don't know. I could never do it again.
But it looks good.
I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out how to do it again.
All right. So I think we should start with introductions. My name is Meryl Mead Fox. I'm the co-chair of the Historical Commission.
I'm Gordon Kahn, the other co-chair.
I'm Susan Baker. I'm the secretary.
I'm Tim Kerligan, just a commissioner.
An excellent commissioner.
I'm Matt Cash, as commissioner.
Great. Okay. Oh, somebody else is coming on.
Our first item is.
Let's see, I think for Susan's sake, Gordon, we need to find out who else is on the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, do you want to do that now or later?
No, now would be good. Although it looks
Okay.
like they're still connecting. Do you need to let them in or?
I admitted them already.
I'll introduce myself.
Okay.
Can you all
Jake.
hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, hello everybody again. I'm Jake. I am representing Mrs. Matthews. We talked about 3 weeks ago, I guess.
Right.
But I also brought along Mike Papora this time, who is one of the install managers for our company here on the Cape. And I know last time Luke had some questions that, in case it got brought up again, I wanted Mike to be here to answer any of those technical questions that, if you remember, I don't have the calluses on my hands and I don't do the install. So I wanted to make sure that if there was a question that Mike would be able to help out and answer as well. And I spoke with Kathy earlier. I'm also still battling.
Jake, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you because we need to see who else is on the meeting. And then we'll start with your item.
Okay.
So if you could just hold on a sec.
Can you spell Mike's last name for me?
P is in Peter, U-R, P is in Peter, U-R-A, Popora.
Popora.
It actually shows up when he speaks.
I'm not seeing that. That's
Okay,
why.
so it's P-U-R-P-U-R-A.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Got you. Thank you.
And then we have a Peter Stewart on. It's S-T-E-W-A-R-T. I don't know what he's here in relationship to. And then we have somebody, Galaxy S9. Can you identify yourself? Could you unmute yourself, Galaxy S9?
Here's Galaxy S9 over here.
Yes. There's, at least on my computer, it's in the lower left. There's a mute button and you can unmute it
I'm connecting to
by
audio.
clicking on it. Oh, it's still muted.
Still can't hear you.
How about that?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Oh dear, you're
A lot of
echoing.
feedback.
Do you have a phone on as well as the computer,
I do.
perhaps?
I'm with Kathy Matthews. Maybe I shut one off.
That's fine. Now we hear you. Thank you.
Hey,
Okay.
And can you give us your name, please?
John Walsh.
Oh dear, we can't hear you. Can you get a little closer to the mic on the computer?
John Walsh.
We still
did you
have
say
feedback.
John Walsh?
I think it was John
Right.
Walsh. Is that correct?
Yep.
This isn't working. Could you
I'm going
turn
to
off?
mute you and maybe
Yeah.
you could turn off one of the devices that you're near. Okay, can you?
Okay, we're going to come back to you. Well, actually, yours is the first item on the agenda. No, actually, it's Jake
Hey, can you
Roberts.
hear me? How about now?
Who is
Everything good
this?
now? This is John Walsh.
Yes.
Hey,
we can
John,
hear
and you said you're with, John, you
I'm-
said you're with Kathleen Matthews right now?
Yeah, I'm sitting with Kathleen Matthews.
Okay, that's
what it
great.
is. All
So
right, here
you
we
guys
go.
are first on the agenda.
All right.
And Jake is there and Kathleen is there. And I know Merrill, you've done some work surrounding this
Okay.
application.
Yes, one more minute though, Gordon, because we need to get the other number on here for Susan Baker so she knows the other people in the meeting.
I will ask them right now, chat.
This is 862-815-13027.
Please identify yourself.
I believe that's John Walsh's. He switched.
Oh, he switched.
So that's what I thought was talking. That lit up on my screen. when
Okay,
he
so
was
we- maybe we don't need that anymore. Okie dokie.
Okay, so I think we have everybody. We
All
have,
right, great.
good.
And I'm realizing that we do not have Brian
Mhm.
Oy and Doriot Kim with us, so we'll see what happens about that. But let's start with 3152 State Highway, Route 6, Main Street.
I would like to also say that Luke Manning has said that he is going to be a little bit late this evening.
Okay. Let's see, Jake, would you like to, well, Gordon, do you want to start on this or shall we have Jake start?
Well, no, I mean, I think that the issue is that it's a certain amount of ambiguity surrounding this. I mean, we talk about wanting to use materials that are authentic old materials like wood, and sometimes people come to us with materials that are composite materials like AZAC and things like that. And we've been sort of on a case-by-case basis looking at how we can apply those and use them effectively because of their durability and because these are modern times. And we're always looking at the notion of living in an old house in a modern way. So under the guise of living in a modern house in an old way, we took a look at these Renewal by Andersen windows, and they're a composite material. Our guidelines talk about not wanting to use vinyl windows. Now, I think when we wrote that, we were talking about those vinyl windows that are kind of preformed, hollow pieces of vinyl that you push against and they give way. We weren't so much talking about this product. One of our members, who was a contractor, raised the questions at our last meeting about the idea that he's had some trouble in the past and that the installation of this material has caused leaks. I guess when you put together dissimilar materials in the same plane or in adjacent planes, the joint between the two of them tends to come apart as one of the materials reacts one way to environmental conditions and the other material reacts another way. That said, we are sort of at a point where we've come to learn that the windows have already been ordered because there was some misunderstanding, and that the homeowner has already paid, I believe it's a 50% deposit for the windows. And which again leaves us in a bit of an awkward position and has to do with the difficulties we've experienced in the past with deferrals from the Department of Buildings. We're working on solving those difficulties, but here we find ourselves again in a situation where someone is trying to live in an old house in a modern way and trying to keep the cold out, put something in that is going to be durable and be a product that would be a legacy that would be able to be used by her children, and someone who has at the same time already paid a bunch of money, and these windows have been already ordered and are available. So I don't know what the predisposition of the commission is today in light of all those facts. I know that there was hesitancy in the past. My personal position is that we need to look at the guidelines and understand the difference between vinyl and composite materials. And I think we need to also be respectful of the fact that the homeowner in this case went ahead and ordered windows, not realizing that she had to come before us, and has expended a great deal of money, and the windows are ready. And I kind of feel as though I would be inclined to say that without setting a precedent, I would, if a motion were before me right now, vote in favor of this application for all those reasons that I just mentioned. That said, I would be more than happy to hear what any other commissioners have to say at this point. Meryl.
I just have two other points about this. So in our last meeting about this, we talked about the advisory guidelines that we've set up and about consistency. And, you know, in general, our preference is to have wood windows on the inside, and we are open to the idea of people using some kind of cladding on the outside to protect the wood. So this is a different kind of a window than what we are generally aiming for in historic buildings. However, this house is not in a historic, it's not in a National Register Historic District. It's off Route 6. It's not visible from the road. And in general, I believe that the homeowner has made every attempt to take very good care of this historic building. So I tend to agree with Gordon in terms of his points, and also in terms of precedent. I think we do need to take into account when buildings are not visible from the road and have generally been taken good care of.
Yes, here, Meryl, you're right. And I meant to make that point. You know, in New York City, Landmarks Preservation Commission has a whole series of guidelines that relate to how visible something is. And there are three categories: not visible, minimally visible, or totally visible. When things are not visible, it goes to staff level and they just approve it. So
You know,
make a second point?
my feeling about this is that, you know, we keep saying without setting a precedent, we'll approve something. And I understand the situation here. So I probably would be inclined to also approve this. But I do think at some point we need to revisit our guidelines and stick to our guns a little bit sometimes on this. And with our partnership with the building inspector, hopefully we can do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that the Anderson people are here and you can hear the kinds of concerns that we have, because this isn't going to go away and we might not be as inclined to approve this in the future. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
Susan, I agree.
Yeah. Speaking of the Anderson window people being here, we would really appreciate it when you're working with people that have historic homes, if you would not set up a contract with them where they pay you before they come before the Historical Commission, because this puts us in a very difficult position with the townspeople, and we are trying to do the right thing by the townspeople and by the historic buildings. So we hope that you'll take that into consideration in our town and other towns.
Absolutely, Meryl, if you don't mind me answering that. You know, generally speaking, when I sell a job, and I'm born and raised in Dennis, right on 6A, so I've been familiar with the historic committee my whole life. And with that being said, when I, like I said, from Woods Hole to Sandwich, all the way to Provincetown, generally when I sell a project, there's a red flag that comes up that, hey, this is historic, in a historic district, and we won't go and make all the windows yet, and it's something that we usually set up before. I don't know if this one slipped through the cracks or not, but I know for a fact that Kathy she wasn't under the impression, or she was not under the impression that it was in the historic district as well. So kind of, and I do normally ask anytime I'm on 6A in that area, I usually say, is this historic? Because the homeowner will normally answer me right away, because it's part of the project process where I say, this may hold up the project. I give them an estimated lead time, but I say on the contract, I actually have an addendum that says historic may take a while. We need to get approval first.
So our new building inspector has better information than in the past. And we went through a series of building inspectors. And in fairness to everyone involved here, there was a certain amount of ambiguity as to what was to be referred and what wasn't to be referred. I think in the future, if you were to, for example, make this application today, you would get that red flag from the building department.
Sure.
And you should also know that in Wellfleet, at least, our bylaws are that anything over 75 years old does come before us for anything. So for any exterior work. So it's not just in historic districts.
Right.
Excellent. Yeah, and I will pass this info along, because there's 5 of us on the Cape that work for Renewal by Anderson. We do a lot of obviously where we live, we have a lot of historic properties. Then we have homes that are 30, 40 years old, but they're in a historic district. And these people that maybe just bought them, they're like, this, it's not historic. I said, but actually, when you look at the map, I know your home's not 100 years old, but it's still in an area that we have to pertain and keep a like for like look. So I absolutely respect that. And moving forward with Wellfleet, this is the first historic home I've done in Wellfleet. I've done other projects in Wellfleet, but they weren't obviously in the historic district. So I'm jotting this information.
Well, just as Susan says, again, it's in Wellfleet, it's beyond that which is in a historic district.
Right.
There's other criteria that bounces you guys to us.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm sorry I'm sorry you didn't get that red flag. I suspect that nobody did anything intentionally here, that you probably didn't get the red flag. Yeah.
And we would never try and, because, we cut our factories in Minnesota, when we take an order, the pre-install inspection happens where a guy like Mike will come out after me, make sure the measurements are to a 16th of an inch, and then they get ordered, and out in Minnesota, they get made. That's when in historic, normally we'll pause on that part first to make sure we get the agenda set up and we go to the board. This one, again, it was all of a sudden, I got an email saying, Jake, this has to go in front of the board, when I knew that the windows had already been ordered and made and they were in process of being shipped. So like I said, moving forward now with Wellfleet, I'll absolutely make sure that we double check. And thank you, Susan, on the 75 or Merrill, whichever, I can't remember who said it, but anything over 75 years old, even if it's not considered an historic, will certainly come to you guys first, no matter what.
Does anybody have?
I did. So I spoke with Darlene at the building department today, and she does want people to apply for the building permit first, and then for the referral to come from them to historic. So, and I assume you needed to apply for a building permit for this job.
We did. Yeah, we pulled permits for that project. Every whether we do 1 window or 50, we pull a permit from the town.
Okay.
So how quickly if I just may ask, how quickly were you shunted to historic after putting the order in for the windows?
I'd have to look at my emails, Timothy. I can't remember. This was written up back in March 10th, and our lead time 16 to 20 weeks. So I don't think I heard anything until May. If we met the first time when in middle of June, right? Yeah. I don't think I heard anything from and we're headquartered out of Smithfield, Rhode Island, and we have a department. Kim reached out to me and said, Jake, I have a historic setup for this. And she said, I apologize, but I had no idea, and it needs to get done. And we realized
that we just need to know how quickly we need to follow up with the building department in order for these things not to happen.
I would, probably within at least 3 weeks of when I'm at a home and I write up a contract with a customer. Yeah.
It's so, we're working on this, Tim. It's,
I
lots of discussions with Jim and with Darren, and we're really trying, and they have a more up-to-date list. And the new building inspector is quite forthcoming with us and very helpful, and checks in several times a week. We're in communication. So I don't think this would happen today. And I apologize for it happening in the past, and for all of the aggravation that has come of not having an approval when you should have had an approval, and all of the tumult that comes from someone feeling that they've paid for something that they couldn't use. Just on behalf of us all, I apologize. And I'm sorry
Yeah.
that things shook out this way. But as I said at the beginning, my inclination in this case, because of all of these extenuating circumstances, would be to make a motion to approve the application. So I move that the application be approved.
And I second the motion. So I vote aye.
I vote aye.
Aye.
Tim, I.
Susan, I.
Luke, I see your name there. Are you?
Yeah,
Jake
I'm here
voted.
now. Sorry, took me a little bit to catch up with y'all. So, aye.
Okay,
Thanks, Luke.
good to have you with us.
So thank you, Jake, and
Thank you.
thank you,
What about us?
thank you, Kathleen, for your patience with us while we sorted this out. And we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for
Thank
fixing
you.
your house.
All the best, Kathleen.
Oh,
Take good
Thank
care.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Happy
Bye-bye.
summer to you all.
Bye.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
you too. So the next item on the agenda is 130 School Street. I don't know if that number is Brian Oy. Whoever is at 862, if you could make yourself known, that would be helpful.
I think this was the other phone number for the gentleman who was with Kathleen.
Oh,
The
okay.
telephone and also that we don't have. So we
Can
don't,
we, can we disconnect that?
I don't know how to do that. I'm trying. Hide.
Can they hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, hello?
I
Yeah.
did that. How was that?
Oh, I just, I just said, I'd like to thank you for making that decision, because I put a lot of thought into even using those windows. And Jake knows that. And on top of that, I made him bring a whole window to my house so I could really check it out. And then he explained everything about how it goes in and it doesn't interfere with your trim. I'm a maniac about the trim on the house. So yeah, I was really shocked when I got that, because I had been dreaming about it for a long time to try and get something that was warmer and more reliable.
But we're so
Because
glad
all of
that
the
you're going
windows-
to be able to go ahead with the project now, Kathleen.
Yeah,
Thank you for
I
coming
really
to
am.
this.
I don't know what I would have done. I said, that can't be happening. I've waited so long to do this. So,
Okay.
thank you. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome.
Well,
Thank you, Kathleen.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Good luck.
Thank
if-
you.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
We're hanging up.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you. I'm thinking maybe, I'm trying to see if there's a phone number with the Kim's application. Does anybody have a phone number for them?
I don't,
Shut up.
and they're not here.
There is a phone number on the,
Oh dear.
I don't know
there's
what
a
I-
phone number on the application under owner's email phone number.
Oh, thanks, Tim. You
Yep.
should get this too. Do you want to give them a buzz?
I can call them, yes.
Great.
Oh, good. Okay. If you could mute yourself before you call them, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Probably
So
know to
we
do that.
lost Luke somewhere in this.
No, he's here.
He's here, he's just not.
He is?
He is safe.
Still here.
He's
Oh,
with
I
us.
don't know.
Yeah.
Why can't I? Oh, there you are. Hi,
Oh, you
Luke.
got out of the
Hey,
car.
Luke. There you are, Luke.
Nice to have you with us.
Right.
So maybe while we wait for Brian, should just go on and discuss the item 3, which is
Okay.
about 2483 State Highway Route 6. I don't know if it's a little confusing. I tried to write to this person who contacted us about this, about how much this was going to have an effect on the property. He says it's going to have no effect on the property. I'm not quite sure why we need to weigh in if that's the case. But apparently we need to weigh, well, they're asking for us to weigh in with Mass Historic. I looked at the Form B. It's a very old Form B that doesn't have much detail and certainly doesn't indicate that it's an important historic property, and the building is not visible from the road. So
And it's not impacted by the state highway department's work.
that's what he said. Yeah.
When I drawings, it didn't look like it was, but it was, those were kind of hard to, piece out as well, but it didn't look like it. Just looking for a rubber stamp, basically.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about this?
Just
Is
real
it-
quick, Brian is on his way. He thought it was at 6.
Okay,
Okay, great. Thank
Well,
you.
that was good.
Thanks a lot for calling him, Tim.
No problem.
Do you
Um,
want me to share the screen with any of
Well-
this stuff from the Mass DOT, the maps? Would that be helpful, or? I can do that.
Does anybody want more information about this?
I mean, it doesn't. It's not impacted by the changes. I don't,
Yeah, that's,
but thank you for asking this,
it was great that they ran it by us, but
People
So-
don't ask us things that we need. People do ask us. things that
Right, they don't need we'll get it right one of these days.
I don't know what we're doing.
so I would like to make a motion, just so we finish this item, that we vote to, I don't know, I'll contact the Mass Historical Commission to let them know that we don't have a problem with the highway renovations related to this
Yeah.
historic property.
We concur that it's not impactful. Yeah.
Okay, anybody want to second my motion?
I'll
I
second it.
will. Did Tim seconded?
Susan, okay, I'll do it, whoever.
Who's seconding?
I'll second.
Or-
Oh,
All right, Gordon
Gordon
seconded,
seconds.
as I seconded his motion, and I'm going to vote aye.
Gordon, aye.
Tim,
Beth,
aye.
aye. Tim, aye.
Susan, I.
Luke, I.
Okay.
We're unanimous.
That's great.
Okay.
No, we just
So-
need to have Brian. But I can pull up those drawings if you'd like me to. I'm having trouble with my computer today. I'm sorry. Here. That, I'm gonna go on Zoom.
Gordon, while you're looking, I apologize, I was late. I've been kind of running around, kind of scattered. I also, at some point, whenever somebody yells at me here, I'm trying to go pick up my son who's coming back from the Marines for a stay.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
So
big
he's on a
stuff.
bus. We got to get him in Hyannis and bring my other son to hockey at the same time. So
Thank you
I
for
apologize
being here, Luke.
for being kind of scattered, but my clock's ticking also. So,
If you have to
Okay.
dash, we understand.
all
We,
right.
we have a quorum without you, Luke, so it's okay.
And we
Okay.
have Brian here right now.
Yeah, so whenever you need to go, but congratulations, that's very exciting.
Yeah, thanks. I just thought while we were taking a pause here, I'd mention it. So I'm not just bailing out on you at the last minute.
Thanks, Luke.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
and
Luke.
thanks for coming at all.
No problem.
So Brian, are you here?
Connecting to audio.
Yeah,
He's not quite here yet.
he's connected.
Connecting.
Right.
In Zoom purgatory.
We were in Zoom purgatory just before this meeting started.
I was 45 minutes in the purgatory. It was really bad. They needed
Never
some
easy.
code that
Not a
only
good
the town
place.
had, and I couldn't get it, and I couldn't log on, and I have like, my plate is not full, guys.
So while we wait for Brian to come on,
Mhm.
one thing that keeps popping up is that we need to revisit our guidelines a little bit to
Yeah.
start really be consistent about how we apply, how we approve and apply exceptions to the rule regarding completely wood windows. So I think that's a conversation we should have at our next meeting or later in the meeting, but I'd love Luke to be there for that because you have more insight into that building material, I think, than most. So that's just an aside.
I think maybe if we could put it on the agenda for the next meeting, that would be.
Yeah, I'll do that. We can't talk about it now because it's not on the agenda, but it will be on
Okay.
the agenda for next time.
Okay.
Any other items people want on the agenda for next time while we're talking about that?
Is the
think maybe-
website on today's agenda?
I'm sorry, is what?
The website?
Yes, it
Okay.
is on today's agenda. Yeah.
And I was just gonna say any other, it's been mostly Windows, but I'm gonna look over the guidelines myself to see if there's anything else that we can clarify while we're all meeting to discuss them.
That would be
Okay.
great.
I know AZEC trim came up and it's come up again and again, and I think we need to put that down in writing. And if we have more information, the better. We can just say, look, it's on our guidelines, yes. That would be my.
I think that would be great to have something consistent.
I also, by the way, I called the head of the Provincetown Historical Commission because I was struck by the fact that there were, I don't know, 5 or 6 historic buildings in Provincetown that had used those windows. And I was wondering about their experience with them and why they are going ahead and approving them, but I didn't hear back from her. So I'm just, yeah, so I'll do a little bit of research too about that, but in general, well, whatever, we'll talk about it later.
Talk about next time, but it would be good to review the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines, our own guidelines, before the next meeting if we get a chance.
Yeah.
I'm just asking,
Same with composite decking, we could take a look at also because it comes up, I mean, we haven't had an issue approving decking, but most homeowners are steering away from materials that are bound to rot within like 10 or 12 years, going over to
I think,
composites.
I think it's not unusual that after we issue guidelines, which is really quite a recent thing that we've done, that we would understand sort of how they really play out and what contradicts them and what confirms them. And now it's time for a quick revisit. I agree.
Yeah.
I can't seem to get Brian to connect. I sent him a private message asking him to unmute, and I asked him to start the video.
He's not, I just said, oh, he's just connecting to, he's not getting in.
Seems to have trouble. Oh, wait, there's another one. Brian's phone is trying to connect now. Brian?
Yeah, he's trying to connect by iPhone and by audio on the computer.
Oh, wait, no, nothing. I was direct messaging him. Are you having trouble? While we're doing this, let me just say that we had the best parade ever, man.
I heard it was better than Provincetown's this year. I know somebody who attended both. And they
Really? We had a great parade.
I don't know, I missed everything last week.
There were 75 people.
Yeah. It was, I kind of missed the steel drums and the music though. There was no music. It was kind of a bummer.
I think it was just so nice to have everybody be together again.
It was.
There must have been 75 people at my house when I turned around in my living room everywhere. And just applauding and yelling and screaming. I saw people crying, people who had been to the parade for the first time, who were renting my sister's house down the hill from here, who live in Brooklyn, but they relocated here. And they hadn't ever been to the parade. And they were so taken with the fact that, it's such a wonderful small town, albeit in which 50% of the residents have PhDs, it's still a small town.
It looks as though Brian's connected. Brian, can you hear us?
Brian, you
I
there?
can. I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Brian, how are you?
Okay.
And Brian,
I'm fine.
Can you see the screen?
I can. I apologize. I misread the time, so that was my fault. And also, I've had a bit of a family situation, so it would probably be better that I'm not on video, but hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Hopefully that's okay.
I think, Brian, I wonder if you could I think we can talk about this fairly quickly, Brian, and I don't want to disrupt your family situation. I understand those. If you wouldn't mind just telling us what's changed between sort of your last application and this application, so we can move forward, that would be terrific.
Great. And really, I think it's fairly simple. What we when we last met, you had asked about the proportionality of the divided lights, with the windows that are the pre-existing windows, and We went back on location and found that we could really, mimic those windows exactly, within millimeters, I think, just because the windows to the right, as depicted, are in fact at counter height, are 6/6. And so
I'm sorry, these two that I'm pointing to now? Can you see where I'm pointing?
I'm on a phone. Yes, correct.
Right. And so you've
And
added this triple ganged window and a triple ganged window.
yes, and the reason why I did I went with that was I can't recall who made the comment about being not necessarily so strict. I think in the way in which we were interpreting what would be historically accurate. We thought about the placement of the range and what would be a little bit more symmetrical and sort of spacing wise would look a little bit more elegant. And we thought that the best way to do that would be to mold the three windows and triplets together and basically have two sets of triplets. It would bring a lot of light into that barn, but also be a little bit more elegantly spaced, with where the range is going into the center there.
And the light cut
And then-
size of these windows is similar to that which already exists.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
The light cut size that's within here, it's hard to see because it's small, is similar to that which already exists.
Correct. In fact, we would just model it after what, and then the only other, I think the question that was asked was, what were, or perhaps Gordon, we exchanged emails around this. What was the materials of the windows that we were going with? I'm actually open to this. I've included an Anderson spec, which are pine but cladded in some kind of composite to make it a little bit more durable. I've also have a spec for an all wood Marvin set of windows. I'm open to suggestions from the committee. Obviously price ranges are pretty significant between Boston Sash and Anderson, but I'm since we know that we can put in the dimensions which are essentially custom to or matching what we're putting in the walls, or what's pre-existing. I'm open to the to the window manufacturer if this committee has a specific recommendation or requirement.
I don't think we want to be proprietary until we want the manufacturer to use or not use. But I think that if I personally were making a decision and I were choosing between Marvin windows and Anderson windows, I would choose Marvin windows because of the way they handle the divided light cuts and their mutton bars look. It's just less plasticky. And
Gordon, can I ask you to repeat that because the dog was competing with you and I wasn't able to hear what you said.
I'm speaking.
Can I ask where the dog is? Can we mute?
They're mine, and I can't find the mute button in the current.
No, and I hear it out of the window, Mac, and I hear it on the computer because you're right across the street.
So, Mac, on my computer, it's on the lower left-hand corner.
It's
Brian, what I was saying
it's
was,
down here. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you click on it, it will mute it.
what I was saying, Brian,
You
is
got
that
it.
we
Thank
never,
you.
we never,
Peaceful now. I'll mute anyway.
Brian, we never want to be proprietary and tell you what to buy and who to buy it from, and we don't favor one manufacturer over another manufacturer. My take on this, however, as an architect and speaking personally, is that if I personally were choosing between Anderson windows and Marvin windows, I would choose Marvin windows because I think they're look better. The muttons are better, the light cuts are better, they're just better, and that Anderson windows look a lot more plasticky than Marvin windows look. And so that's my take on, and using Marvin windows in historical structures is something that is also accepted, for example, again, by the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission, and using Anderson windows is not accepted by them.
Okay. I'm totally comfortable with that. In fact, not to overfeed this committee with too much information, but I live in my primary residence in Jersey City is in a historic district, and I've put in Marvin windows here for that reason, and I think they're terrific.
Yeah, they would be accepted in Jersey City too. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm
Anderson
perfectly
would not fly.
Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with that, and we'll go with that decision then.
Well,
Great.
hold on a minute though, because we don't have specs for the Marvin window, right? We have specs for an Anderson window.
That is correct. I didn't include that. I do have it. It's essentially an all wood window instead of
Can we-
clad in a composite, and the
Could we say-
dimensions would be identical.
And could we say it's the Marvin Ultimate Double Hung Window? Clad,
It is.
clad finish?
That's what I, correct. That's what I got a spec for.
Right, so the Marvin Ultimate Double Hung Window clad on the exterior is a good bet.
Okay, so in
Yes,
other words,
and
it's
the-
wood on the interior and it's clad with what on the exterior?
It's actually all wood.
Oh, it's all wood
Yes,
and it's not clad.
correct.
Oh,
The Anderson is all wood on the interior and clad on the exterior.
right,
Okay, and the Marvin window is all wood?
it comes
Uh,
either clad or without cladding, but generally we get it pre-finished with something, but
Yeah, what I had gotten a spec for was all wood on, which I thought this committee might require. So that's part of the reason why I did that. But well, part of the reason why I had it, I had it in the back pocket. I didn't include it only because, we're always trying to think about like what is, what will be most durable in obviously in the coastal conditions and whatnot. And but either I'm comfortable with going with all wood. That's what I have in Jersey City, and it's performed perfectly fine.
that's great. I
Great,
like-
okay.
And I would like to just jump in here, Brian. Thank you again for coming back to us. And I wanted to reiterate, I was the one who had said that that I didn't want you to be limited by the fact that where the windows were placed, having to match historic, that more of the interior function dictates where the windows are, which is sort of how anything but the front facade on this house exists currently. And I think that the fact that you came with an answer as to why you're placing these windows further solidifies that. And on a personal note, I walked by your house the other day and saw somebody, I think you had said there was a woman who was restoring the windows, and I believe I watched that delivery and I just got excited for you guys. So I wish
Yeah.
you the best going forward.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Tim. It looks great.
She's terrific. I will tell you, she is still, and I don't know if this committee will want some say in this, but she still believes that she can put together historically matched windows from stock to do what we're talking about here. Since I didn't have a definitive answer from her just yet, I wanted to proceed with something and a proposal. I'm still waiting to hear from her as to whether or not she can pull that off. I think the Marvin windows are a perfectly fine option and will look great as well, and they will be double panes, and so therefore we'll get a little bit more environmental R factor on it.
But
And
if you could send along her information, that might be helpful if we have another project in the future where the windows are more difficult to replace, to have someone that we can refer people to, at least for an opinion would be helpful.
I apologize. It's Tim, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I apologize, Tim. I know the committee asked me that last time, and I neglected to do that. Her name is Nancy Barrington. She's a lovely woman.
Great.
And she's incredibly excited on working on old windows. And so, I can't tell you how many people have advised me against this, but we have proceeded to move forward with it.
Brian, where is she based out of?
She's in Orleans.
We have the information, I think, from Richard Robichaud, who witnessed our last meeting.
Okay.
But go ahead, I'm sorry. Did you?
She's based out of Orleans. That's
Great,
correct.
thank you. Thank you. And I'd like to just add that I just think this is a beautiful design you guys have come up with. It really honors the historic nature of the house, but also makes it a livable. So I think it's a great design. I'm really, really impressed with it. I can't wait to see it when it's all done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd
Thank
like
you.
to add that I just really appreciate how careful you're being about the restoration as well, and the fact that you're working to restore the historic windows. And it would be terrific if you're able to do it in back as well, but of course it's not required. But especially given that this is such a beautiful preserved house in the historic district. It's so appreciated that you're doing the work that you are to restore it.
It is certainly what Dora and I love about the house. So we certainly are not interested in corrupting that. You know, perhaps this is a good time for me to ask the question. I mean, one we are planning on, you know, because there's no heat or there's no HVAC system of any sort in the interior, and we are planning on adding that. I don't know. And the mechanicals contractors have been very concerned about the single pane glass. One topic that I've discussed with Nancy is having her, you know, custom build storm windows. But that would, you know, that would sit on the exterior. You know, you would still be able to see the divided light, but it, you know, obviously there would be, you know, it'd be obstructed by a pane of glass. We don't have to make a decision on that now, and you know, I think it will depend on also on how sealed up, you know, everything, how airtight we get everything. But is that something that this committee would consider? I know you would have to weigh in on it, but is it something that you've approved before?
It is something that we would consider. It's really the only thing you can do if you're restoring historic windows and you want to make the house more weather tight. There's actually a lot of information about this on Historic New England's website.
There's actually, the other option you have is to do interior storms, which are custom fitted to the interior, don't affect the exterior look of the house at all, and actually work really well in many instances. So Historic New England has a whole kind of white paper about that on their website.
Right.
Oh, that's great. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's, I wouldn't be, I bet Nancy knows about Historic New England as well, because, but anyway, it's a
Okay,
great.
I will.
Yeah.
I mean, she's very, you know, she's very amenable to, you know, to working, yeah, with you all, as well as, you know, our specific requirements. So I'm sure she will be flexible, you know, if that turns out to be the much better option.
Great. Okay. So any other discussion about Brian's proposal, or shall we make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal as presented.
I second that motion.
I think we need to change it a little bit though, because it's not entirely as presented, because the proposal presents it with Anderson windows.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal as presented, with the exception of the use of, what was the kind of windows that we were?
Marvin Ultimate.
Marvin windows versus Anderson.
Marvin Ultimate double hung windows.
Marvin Ultimate double hung windows.
Yeah.
Instead of
And
the
if it will please the committee, what I will do is, you know, as soon as I get stationary, I will either forward the quote, or I will just make sure my GC gets, you know, works with Shepley's to get the most current, or Mid-Cape just to get the most current quote, and send it on to this group so it's documented.
Thank you. That would be
Great.
helpful. Great.
Thank you,
Okay.
Brian.
Okay.
Not a
So
problem.
I second Susan's motion, and we need to vote. I vote aye.
Gordon, aye.
Mac,
Tim, aye.
aye.
Tim, I.
Okay.
Susan, I.
We really have to put ourselves in alphabetical order, guys.
Luke, did you vote? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I.
Okay.
We need
Okay,
to.
all right. It's unanimous. Congratulations, Brian. We look forward to meeting with you again, and good luck with the project.
Yes, the
Thank
place
you,
looks
and
great,
thank-
Brian.
Thank
Brian.
you. Thanks for your patience with me today too.
Oh,
No problem. Bye.
Welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take good care. All right, next item on the agenda is to approve Susan's minutes. I would like to make a motion to approve Susan's minutes.
and I second that motion.
Aye.
Shall we just all raise our hands to
Aye,
approve?
aye.
Aye,
Unanimous.
All approve.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you, Susan, for your great minutes.
Let's just think alphabetical order, guys.
So the next item is,
Well, Jim's not here.
Jim's not here, but he did send me an email about this, and I meant to print it out, but it didn't print out, so I'm going to just read it to you. Let's see, where is it? Oh, shoot, this isn't the right one. I don't know why it's not coming up correctly. Gordon, do you have this as well?
Maybe. Jim sent it.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
You
All
do?
right, here it is. So in terms of the Form Bs, he wanted everybody to know that Lynn Smilage's invoice for the Form Bs on 10 properties has been paid, which fully expends our 2019 CPA grant. So that's great. And then our 2022 application for CPA funding was approved by the town meeting and the CPA committee. So this enables us to compensate Eric Dre for finalizing and submitting 50 Form Bs to the Mass Historical Commission. These were, we've talked about this in the past, but this was related to the past Historical Commission, and the contract wasn't completed at the time. So he has prepared a contract between Eric and the town of Wellfleet in the amount of 2,500 grants. So that's going to be reimbursed. I did communicate with him because we have more money, and so I'm hoping that we will be drawing up a new contract with Lynn Smilage to do more updating of Form Bs. And then he also had a note about the website. I guess, why don't I just read this, Susan, and then you might want to add to it, I assume.
Yeah.
What he says is, Susan and I are working with consultant Andrea Pluhar on the website project. A beta version is up and running on Squarespace, consisting of a framework for organizing the major components, such as the role and mission of the WHC, explanation of the application review process, Wellfleet building inventory forms, and historic preservation resources. And there also are placeholders for content to be originated or transferred from other sources. And he says, Susan can clarify this for you. Let's see, he has two concerns at this junction, so I'll just finish that. One is we need a process for content development. Who will create it and how will it be approved for inclusion? And then the new website shouldn't merely be a more attractive and functional version of the WHC page on the town website. How can we make it our voice and ensure that it adds value? So great points.
It is. So I just wrote, I sent him yesterday. I didn't realize he was away. My very, very first draft of the content of the website based on Lynn's kind of items that she'd outlined. So Jim and I need to talk about that and refine that. And when we kind of had something to present to you, we will. Maybe in the next week meeting, and maybe the next full month meeting, the beginning of the month meeting, we can send that out to you in advance and talk about that.
Great. Okay.
Thanks, Susan.
Susan, did you want to talk about any of these points that he brings up, or do you think we should just wait until that next full meeting?
I mean, I think it's kind of developing as we do it. I do think absolutely that we're going to have to be very clear about who's responsible, how we change the content, and who's responsible for making sure that gets into the website. And I also agree with them that we don't want to just mimic what's on the town website. Although when I looked at that, when I was writing this material, it's very out of date and needs a lot of work and could be really pared down with just some minimal things and then just a link to our website. I think would be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So thoughts that you have about doing that are much appreciated.
Yeah, and I told Jim that I think the thing to do is get our website up and running the way we want it, and then work on the town website, getting that in control.
Yeah,
I have trouble navigating the town website.
yeah.
I
I've
just want to throw in there.
spoken to other committee members, other committee chairs that have websites that they've created in addition to what's on the town website. And they have a way of connecting the two, so people can just click on the town in order to get to our website. So we'll need to do that eventually.
Right. And that's really what I'm envisioning, is taking away a lot of the content listing we have there, actually. Just having a brief blurb about who we are, a thing about getting your building reviewed and finding out about your house, and then the link to our website for more information.
That's great, because then we don't have to keep updating through the town, and we can update.
Which is the whole reason for doing this, really. Yeah, because it's so onerous.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much for all the work you're doing on this. It's going to be such a helpful addition.
We'll see. We'll see. I think it will be. I think it'll be an improvement. And we do need to get some images. So if you guys have good images or things that you think would be fun for us to use, or video clips even, start thinking about that, and we can start pulling that into the website a little bit.
No, one thing you might consider is asking the Wellfleet Historical Society if you could make use of some of their historic photos of buildings, because they have a really wonderful library and it's all on their website. And I've spoken with them before, and they are willing to share with us. You know, the things on the website we can't just copy because they say Wellfleet Historical Society in the bottom.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, but we can definitely do that. But in the meantime, if you have any other images or ideas for things, maps, stuff like that, we can add those in. It would be fun to have a kind of a constantly changing images in the background. So we can figure that out as we go.
That's great. I think I need to get a new iPhone. My husband has a brand new iPhone and his pictures are so much better than mine. I have a lot of photographs I've taken for our Instagram account, but I think in order to put it on the website,
these 3 cameras back here make the difference.
Exactly. Yes. It's amazing what a difference they make.
They do. And you can, when you can set the settings for your camera to take a high resolution camera photograph. So yeah, we can figure that out. But I do think some interesting, I don't want to overwhelm the site with images, but it'd be really great to have a couple of really beautiful images. Even like a drone shot would be cool, of the kind of that moves of the kind of the downtown area or the historic houses.
I just wanted to throw out there. One of the things that we could add to the website, which might be an easy add as opposed to adding more work, is either a blog, which literally can just draw, because Meryl, I think what you do with the Instagram page is great. You could just take those images and that writing and throw it up onto the website as part of a blog. But I was also thinking that as far as getting traffic to the website and raising awareness, a lot of people are interested in these projects. You know, people often ask what happened to 130 School Street or whatever. And I wonder if there's a way that if there's projects like the Baker House, or like what Brian and Dorian are doing, which are really exemplary, if we can do like a before, during, and after sort of profile that keeps people updated, but it also can start to set a precedent for some of the work that's being done, and just say these are the windows they're using, and this is, so people can start to be aware of what goes on, not just during our meetings and having to read through the meeting minutes, but it sort of brings that to the forefront.
We could
I love that idea.
Court of case studies. It could be
we'd have to ask approval of the homeowners.
Of course,
and we would have to also think about whether or not we're showing any favoritism in any way, which we don't want to do. But the notion of having several different case studies could be good.
Well, the thing that a lot of other towns do is they have awards for projects that are especially well done. And I did look into that in the past. The trouble is that some of these other towns have a whole lot more support than we do. And it's a big project to have an award ceremony and all of that. So I think
one of the things that would be cool for us to do, which is on our website, the town website, which I don't really see any activity around, our house plaques. And maybe we could gift a house plaque to like our exemplary, just to get people interested, and then we can have information about them getting their own house plaque,
Oh, that's a great
idea. Doing that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Only because it would be cool to get a lot more houses with house plaques on them, just so people recognize the historic nature of these buildings and value them.
Yeah.
More kind of PR.
That's a great idea, Susan. Okay.
I'm going to have to excuse myself, guys. I'm sorry. I've got some stuff going on in the next room I have to tend to.
Will you come back, or do we need to stop?
No, we need to stop for me, but I'm just saying we just have correspondence, letters to new homeowners, and social media. We just talked about the new website.
I think we've covered everything, unless anybody has anything else.
Anything else anybody else wants to say?
Okay. So our next meeting is July 20th at 5 p.m. If we're lucky, we won't have to meet.
Right.
We're supposed to have a lighter schedule in the summer.
We'll see.
But I'll let you all know. In the meantime, hope you all have a great rest of July. And I hope, Tim, that you feel much better very soon.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry.
Celebrate your wedding and
one thing I forgot to mention. I'm sorry. I wanted to just say that, we had this plan, and I spoke to Tim about it, and maybe Susan too, about the idea that when we're presented a drawing, it's really what architecturally would be called a design development drawing, but not a construction document. And then it gets modified and sent to the Department of Buildings here. And then Jim looks at it, and Jim really had no way in the past of reconciling sort of whether the drawing that he's seeing is what we approved. And so he's agreed to send us copies of what is submitted to him. And we got our first one already. And Katie in my office is working on both a digital and physical stamp that we can then add to the drawing after one of us has reviewed those drawings. And I know that I had Tim as part of the crew to review drawings, and maybe Susan too, you'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Just 'cause I feel like we're used to looking at drawings. I mean, Luke could do it too, obviously, but I have a feeling Luke's busy.
Your time is everywhere, Luke. You have no time to do anything.
Yeah.
You're all over town.
But yeah, so it would be a stamp that says approved by the Wellfleet Historical Commission, so that
Right.
it's clear that we're all agreeing on the same thing, that, you know,
Right.
the building inspector and the Historical Commission. So it's a very exciting change, and I'm so glad that we've put this in place.
It's good.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very good.
Thank
How
you.
legal it is, but it's good. Okay.
All right,
right,
Luke, you
say
stayed
bye,
with us for the
everybody.
whole thing.
All right.
Happy
Thanks,
weekend with your
Bye.
son.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Susan, are
all.
you next door over here?
Why, can you hear the same thing I'm hearing?
No, I can't. I hear something. I see Mac is across the street. We're all like clustered here.
I know, we're all in this area. It's
Some
not-
of
I
you
know.
At some point,
Bye,
we'll
you
have to have a
guys.
meeting in person.
Later.
I know.
All right.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.